Hey there. This is Story Late Night, the positively shameless black sheep of our Story Night family, where you hear bleep-worthy stories on an unblushing theme. I'm Artistic Director Jody Eichelberger. In this episode, we are a hot mess. Yep, that's our theme, hot mess. Stories of getting sloppy. Our show intermixes curated stories with a community story slam. Here's guest late-night host Alisha Donahue and featured storytellers Jynx Jenkins, Dillon and Dillon. Hey, thanks everybody for coming out. What a beautiful night. I'm Jody Eichelberger. I'm the producing artistic director at Story Night. You can tell that I'm a producer because I'm holding a clipboard. I've got also a couple of announcements immediately. One is that if you are the driver of a gray Volkswagen, apparently you parked right in front of the stairs of the Bishop House over here. And it's right in the center. It apparently is not actually a parking spot. So if you recall being right in the center of the Bishop House and recall that you drive a gray Volkswagen, you might go sort that out. The other issue is that someone left their phone at check-in. If your screensaver is a beautiful couple kissing by a waterfall, then we our photographer just said I'm cold playing it, but is it yours? All right. Well, welcome to Story Late Night, our first outdoor show of the season back at the Old Idaho Penitentiary in the walled garden. Lovely to have you here. Couple of thank yous. We want to thank the City of Boise, the Departments of Arts and History, which now we are on the second year of our Cultural Ambassadorship program. They selected us to be the Cultural Ambassador, which is a great honor. Supporting the city's mission to make this a place for everyone, a city for everyone, and by having everyday people be able to share their stories and promote inclusivity, celebrating the diversity of our human experience, and storytelling is certainly an important part of that. I also want to thank our Story subscribers. Thank you to those of you who are here tonight. Those are people who have a monthly donation and get tickets to all the shows if they want them. Here's kind of a fun special announcement. When Story Night was founded back in 2010, it was inspired by a program called The Moth, which is headquartered in New York. And in fact, I've told people some of our passwords the password is moth inspired. So don't go on our Google Drive and start typing that in. But it's a national storytelling platform. And a few of us have gone to the Moths and told stories. I told some stories in New York. Beth Norton, who has hosted the show here for many years and is also going to be hosting again at the Visual Arts Collective, is having a little break. Beth told a story at the Moth in Portland. And there may have been a few other Story Night people who have shared stories. But as far as I know, this is the first time one of our members of our Story Night family has been selected for the Moth Radio Hour. Yes, and it is Jean Cardenio, and this is a story she shared at the VAC. I'm not sure which one was first, the Moth or us, but it was a story she shared at the VAC for Light My Fire, which is a show that Beth hosted, and she's going to have a little listening party at Julia Davis tomorrow by the Bandshell at 6 o'clock. So if you don't have anything to do, you can all gather by the Bandshell and hear the first broadcast of this. It'll be played locally on Boise State Public Radio. We don't get the Moth until Saturday at 7 o'clock at night, I think it is. She didn't want to wait. So we're going to listen to the podcast that's already been released, so that's super fun. It's going to be all over the world, and we had her here first. Yeah, that's exciting. Somebody else who's been all over the world is our host, who can be seen in clubs and pubs and breweries all over and performs comedy in some of them. I'm very excited to introduce the curator and host of our series here at the Women's Ward this summer. She has a long history with Story Night, going all the way back to at least 2012, where she was a featured storyteller for the show was Awkward, Cringeworthy Stories, And then at Late Night's Bad Influence in 2013, seems to be a theme here, cringe stories, bad influence. And then the last one at Reality Bites in 2016, which she actually told with one of the featured storytellers that's here tonight. I also had the opportunity to work with her during Boise's Funniest Person, which she was one of the runner-up in the inaugural version of that show, and then later started running it and producing it. Please, we are very happy to have hosting our show tonight, Alisha Donahue.
Thank you. No, please, no, thank you. No. Seriously, thank you. No, thank you so much. Stop. What a surprise. My name is Alisha Donahue. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you this summer. Welcome to the first outdoor. You already said all this, so whatever. Blah blah blah. Welcome outside. You know, when I chose the theme hot mess, I was expecting it to be about 175 degrees today, but we got a treat, and I reverse manifested this or something. And I'm sorry that the sun is back in your eyes. I thought we were going to get a full shaded day, but let me tell you a little bit about how this works. We tell live stories on stage by the people who lived them on a theme without notes. Our theme tonight is hot mess, stories of getting sloppy. We have 3 featured stories, which will be intermingled with stories from you all. If you can think of a story about a time you were sloppy, and I bet you can, feel free to head over here to the Slammer booth and put your name in the bucket at any time during the show. I will draw up to, depending on what time it is, by the end, up to five story slammers tonight, and you can share your stories of getting sloppy with us. Because no one on the planet is a sloppier mess than I'll just kick it off and know that it can't possibly get any worse from here. So I would like to tell you, first off, I'm a teacher. I feel like it's important to set that tone so that you have empathy for me right away. I'm a teacher. You have to love me. So I have this friend. She's one of my oldest friends. We have been best friends since we were 10 years old in 5th grade. And she she has more money than she knows what to do with. She's a bonkzillionaire, and I am a teacher. And she, every so often, will call me up and she'll say, Alisha, I'm going to fly out. She lives in Florida. I'm going to fly out to Florida, and we're going to have bestie weekend. And I'll say, okay. And I'll, find my, bejangliest, club jeans or whatever I can squeeze my sausage body into. And I get out there for bestie weekend with my bonkzillionaire friend. So 3 years ago, she calls me up. It's her birthday. I'm going to fly you out to Las Vegas, and we're going to have bestie weekend in Las Vegas. And I say, ooh, that sounds like fun. So she's like, great, books the tickets. I'm like, great, where are we staying? She says to me, Trump Hotel. Oh, no. I know that we don't like to get political here at Story Night, but I feel like this is a very NPR-leaning crowd, and I feel like I can... and I feel like this is a PBS crowd, and I feel like I can safely say, oh, no. But she had already booked the tickets, and we've been best friends for a long time, and sometimes when you love someone so much and you know that you diverge politically, sometimes you just have to put those things aside and love them anyway. And I decide that what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on bestie weekend, and I'm just going to apologize to everyone. So I get off the plane, I get to Las Vegas, I get in an Uber, and the guy says, where are we going? And I say, Trump Hotel, I'm so sorry. So he He drops me off out front. I go into an ostentatious gold tower gleaming in the desert, and I'm like, oh my God. It is, as you would expect, a golden toilet in the middle of Nevada. And I walk in. My friends have already been there for several hours. They've been off at the all-you-can-drink buffet. So I'm like, well, I'll just pop over to the bar and get a little caught up. So I have a couple gin and tonics. I don't really drink. I am not good at it, or I am really good at it, depending on your perspective. But I don't really drink. But bestie weekend, Trump hotels. Sometimes you gotta just do what you gotta do to get through the day. So I slam a couple of gins and tonics. I catch up with my friends. We're like, hooray! The first thing we do is we go to the Cirque du Soleil, right? And we've got beautiful seats, and it's an extravagant whatever. That was the least interesting thing that happened on the rest of this trip. Next morning, we get up before sunrise, and we get on a helicopter, and we fly into the Grand Canyon. I am living my Grand Theft Auto dreams. I'm a teacher. I don't helicopter into the Grand Canyon. So we helicopter. First of all, I forgot something. First of all, they came around on the shuttle bus to take us to the helicopter. There were people that had to stop on the shuttle bus and pick us up at Trump Tower. I get on the bus and I say, I'm so sorry. So we get on the shuttle. They take us to the airport. We helicopter to the Grand Canyon. As we're in the Grand Canyon, the sun rises over the rim of the canyon, and we turn to see one of the other couples from the shuttle bus getting engaged. Oh my God! We've never been so excited in all our lives. Champagne toast. We get back on the shuttle bus with them. When are you getting married? We're so excited for you. We're getting married this afternoon at 3 o'clock, they say. You should come, they say. Fuck yeah, we're gonna come to your wedding, strangers. So we spend the rest of the day drinking, getting ready for this wedding. We managed to find a wedding cake for them. We are at the Sex Emporium, where we find ourselves standing, wondering what kind of marital aid we should get for this couple whose name we don't remember. I suggest that maybe we don't do that and instead just get sashes that say bridesmaid. We show up at the venue at the Elvis Chapel. This woman was not excited to see us. But we're so excited for her, and we've brought her a cake, and we're filming, and we're her bridesmaids. By the end, we're best friends. I caught the bouquet. Thank you. Somewhere over the course of this day, we had managed to get ourselves on the VIP list to the chain smokers at the Wynn Hotel. Because that's what happens when you hang out with bonk-zillionaires. You helicopter into the Grand Canyon, and you end up on stage with the chain smokers at the Wynn Hotel. The Los Angeles Rams were there. My friend is throwing around $100 bills, and people are just bringing me drinks. They're just bringing me drinks, and I am drinking them. The last thing I remember is saying to my friends, and I don't know what time it is at this point. Time doesn't exist in Las Vegas, as you probably know if you've ever been there. But I say to myself, I should probably throw up before we get home so that I'll be fine. I turned 49 on Wednesday. There is no fine in a world of hangovers past 37. I don't know if you know this. So I go in the bathroom and I throw up so hard that I pee myself. Not just a little bit, not just like normal going through your day pee yourself, like all the way. All the way. And I'm saying to my friends, I'm like, you guys, I just totally peed myself. I completely peed. And they're like, shut up, they're not gonna let us in this Uber if you don't shut up. And I'm like, you're right. That's the last thing I remember. Until sometime the next morning, I guess, I hear like a knocking, and I hear, ma'am, this isn't your room. And you know the thing in cartoons when like the cat gets hit on the head with a frying pan and it's like dark and then there's like a little slit of light and it's dark and then there's a little slit of light? It was like that. And the details of the scene begin to crystallize. And I am standing in the hallway of the Trump Hotel. I'm so sorry. And I am knocking on a door that is not mine, and I have my arm, like one arm out, and one like just tit hanging fully out, like drunk Miss America. My bra straps are hanging down like a holster, and I am completely naked from the waist down. And a voice behind me says, ma'am, do you have any identification? And I realize, at this moment, I'm like, listen, bitch, there's nothing you can do right now but just own this. And so I turn around, proudly, and I say to her, where do you suppose I would keep it? Teacher. So it ends up, she verifies that I am who I say I am and that I am where I'm supposed to be. And I get to my room where I say to my friends, I get back and they're like, what happened to you? And I was like, I don't fucking know. That was your job. The most undignified thing of the whole process was the lady in the hallway with the ID brought me a robe that says Trump. What am I gonna do? Not put it on? Anyway, I'm pretty sure that's why the Department of Education has been dismantled. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. So sorry, thank you. Anyway, it's not going to get any sloppier than that. Please welcome to the stage your first storyteller, your featured storyteller of the evening, Mr. Dillon Haas.
Keep it going for Alisha, you guys. Hot mess. I found myself standing in the men's room bathroom at the Winco in downtown Boise at about 8:30 in the morning on a Saturday, trying to shave my face using one of those single blade blue disposable razors, scraping this razor up my neck, over my chin, up my cheek, trying to clean up a couple of days worth of stubble, blasting it with the ice cold water from that spring-loaded faucet in that grimy little sink, in that grimy little bathroom, trying desperately to clean up a little bit of this hot mess that had become my life. This wasn't like my only space for primping, right? Like I'm not homeless. No, in fact, I'm living at home. I'm living at my parents' house. There they are in the front row. I'm a 36-year-old man living in my parents' basement, hiding out in my parents' basement, stashing those Kirkland water bottles full of vodka all over my room in my parents' basement, while my very angry, soon-to-be ex-wife and 3 children are still living in the beautiful Victorian that I overextended myself to buy for her. I mean, to buy for us, but to buy for her, right? Because that was how the codependence of my marriage was. If she was happy, I was happy. If she was okay, I was okay. And if I wasn't okay, it was mainly because she wasn't okay. And definitely, if she wasn't okay with me, I was not okay. And that morning, scraping that razor up my face, I was not okay. Because I had been awake for about a half an hour. I'd woken up at about 8 o'clock that morning, or, more accurately, I'd come to face down on the ratty couch cushions of some stranger's couch in some stranger's house somewhere in Boise. And like in a cartoon, when you get hit in the head with a frying pan and your eyes go down? I had to come to on that couch, and I wiped the groggy, alcoholic sense out of my eyes and kind of sat there. And as was kind of my custom at that point, as the reality of the day started to kind of crash in, and I started to have that hangover panic, that sense of just general dread, anxiety, this feeling that I was going to be in trouble. I had this feeling like I was going to be in trouble, and I couldn't stand that sense. It was like this boulder of the reality that was coming at me, and this hot mess. I tried to just stay one step ahead or to drown it out. And I got up off the couch, and I went into the stranger's kitchen and opened the stranger's refrigerator and filled a coffee mug full of pink boxed wine and sat back down, guzzling down to try and remove the fact that boulder was coming at me, and I just couldn't handle it, right? And as I sat there, calming my nerves with a mug of wine, I looked at the clock, and I saw the hand kind of tick past the 5, and I realized, no, this isn't a general dread. I didn't just have this general sense that I was going to be in trouble. No, I had something very specific that I was about to be in trouble for, because in that moment, I remembered evening Dillon from the night before. Not nighttime Dillon, who had drank himself to forgetting everything about his life. No, earlier in the evening time Dillon, who had who'd made a concerted promise to my very angry, soon-to-be ex-wife in this effort to try and look like I was still capable of functioning as a human being. Babe, you've got it, no problem. I'd taken the bait. She had thrown down the gauntlet, and I took the bait. Yeah, I can be at the house at 8:30 on a Saturday morning, no problem. I can show up to watch the kids, 8:30, no problem, babe. I'll be there 8:45 at the latest. You can count on me. And yeah, I'll stop calling you babe, because that's reasonably triggering at this point. And sitting there trying to drown that memory out, I had that sense of, oh shit, I am really going to be in trouble now. I'm really just going to let her down. And as I waited for the cab that I called to wherever it was I was waiting, I had that realization of, shit, this is going to just justify one more piece of evidence to justify why she'd kicked me out already, why I would landed in my parents' basement. A grown-ass man hiding in my parents' basement, sneaking out of my parents' basement like a teenager every night, so that nighttime Dillon could go drink until he forgot everything about his life, leaving it up to hangover panic morning Dillon to try and stay one step ahead of that boulder every night, drinking until the bars closed, and then waking up to make it in to the 7 a.m. meeting at my big boy job out at Micron, rolling in at 6:55 after having closed down the bars, after having slept for a few hours in my car in the parking lot, taking a hefty pull at the vodka bottle in the trunk of my car, rolling in at 6:55, yanking my socks up and my shoes as I stumble in, trying to stay one step ahead of that boulder. And getting in that cab and getting the ride down to where my car was parked in front of the Neurolux, I was doing the calculation. There's just no fucking time. There's no time. And I'm really going to let her down now, because there was more. The reality of this boulder that had grown even bigger just that week, that I had not even given myself time to process and was in no way ready to bring it up to her, was that after weeks and weeks of trying to roll in at 6:55 at the last second to show up at my engineering meeting, instead I'd been greeted by security at my desk with a box full of all my desk trinkets and escorted back out the front door and cordially invited to never return to that job again. And I was just panicked, riding in that cab to get to my car, I knew, man, that was part of why in evening Dillon had made that guarantee, because he wasn't ready to face what was coming, wasn't ready to face that we were no longer going to be able to afford this big, beautiful house. No. I got in my car and I thought, man, there's just no way. There's no way I can get this done. I don't have time to drive over to the north end where my parents live and take a shower, shave my face, change my clothes, get back in the car, drive over to the east end where this beautiful house is located near the hospital where my very angry, soon-to-be ex-wife and 3 children are waiting because I had promised them, I'd guaranteed I'd be there. And this looming sense that everything was going to crash down on me was almost too much. But it occurred to me that I didn't have time to make that loop, but I did have time to swing by the Winco, grab a pack of those cheap-ass razors, and go at least clean up my face. I could just at least make a diving catch effort. I could scrape off a couple days worth of stubble, make an effort, Indiana Jones reaching back for the hat before the wall comes crashing down. I could put some lipstick on this pig. Mixed metaphors, go with me. And that's what found me standing in that bathroom at 8:30, trying to clean it up, just trying desperately to make some effort, splashing cold water on my face so that I could carry that energy with me as I crashed through the back door of that house, rolling in with the false bravado that only someone in a hangover panic kind of trumped up with a little bit of wine for breakfast can muster. I said, babe, I made it. 8:43, I made it. I'm through the door. You got this, right? You can go on with your day. I'm here for the kids. And I could tell immediately, like 1 microsecond, 1 shot of eye contact with the vitriol of that woman looking back at me, that boulder was about to crash over me, that this puffy white, razor-burned face had done nothing to detract from the fact that I reeked of cigarettes and liquor, and my clothes were crumpled and clearly slept in, and my hair was a wreck. And do I smell wine on your breath? Fuck that. I dove out of the way, straight into the playroom where my little 5-year-old boy sat quietly playing with Legos, and I threw myself on the floor in front of him with a kind of overzealous, exaggerated enthusiasm that only an alcoholic, soon-to-be divorced father can muster interest in a 5-year-old's Lego building. Buddy, that's great what you've done there. What are you going to do with that next Lego piece? Do you guys see what an engaged and invested father I am? And that little guy's eyes looking up at me, confused and terrified, wondering, why does Dad reek like that? And what is going on with this death vacuum of silence coming from the doorway where my very angry, soon-to-be ex-wife stood with her mom, arms folded, looking in at me, just shaking their heads like, what the fuck? And I would love to pretend that when she left, I took stock of my life, and I took this as an opportunity to turn things around, to look at what was going on and make a change, but there's no way, man. It took months and months of me trying to scramble and stay ahead of that boulder before it just rolled over me, and I was forced to do something about it. No, that day, I did nothing like that. Nothing. When she left, I gave her no credit. No credit for not throwing a fit. I didn't give her credit for letting me stay there with my kids, even though clearly I was in no condition to do it. No, I didn't do any of those things. All I could think as she closed the door and went on to go do her morning things was, man, she didn't even give me credit for this shave.
One more time for Dillon Haas, please. All right. It is time for a story slammer. Ooh, I see somebody putting their name in right now. Bring me the bucket. Now I didn't clear this with the East Carter Lane Warriors. Also, big hand for East Carter Lane Warriors, please. East Carter Lane Warriors. Our story slammers have 5 minutes. If they go over 5 minutes, can I give you the cue to play the Jaws theme or something to wrap it up? or something? Yeah? Okay, so slammers, if you go over 5 minutes, I'm going to have East Carter Lane tell you to wrap it up. Now, that does not mean, oh, I have a soundtrack. That means it's time to stop. Do we all understand? All right, 5 minutes. Bring me the bucket. Or basket. I guess it's a basket. Bring me the basket.
Bring me a shrubbery.
A shrubbery with a herring. Drum roll, please, Jeff. Sky. Sky. Ting. Where's Sky? There he is. Here comes Sky.
I'm wearing this hospital paper gown, and I'm laying on a bed in the hospital because the night prior, I'd gotten into a fist fight, and this is down in Chile, and a rock had smashed my toe, and now I'm laying on this hospital bed in Chile getting surgery on the end of my toe. They have to stitch the entire thing up. And I'm thinking, this is so far from any vital organ, I'm totally okay. And I'm hooked up to the machines and so forth. And I looked up, and there's just blood splattered across the ceiling. And I'm just like, oh. Because the night before, we had a tangle not only with the locals, but also with the police. And the thing is, in Chile, especially in 2006, was that this is a militarized police, and they were called the Pacos, and they are very serious, and there's absolutely no guns in Chile. And I'm not gonna let this little minor incident take me down from my drinking. So with my friends, a few days later, they're like, hey man, like that's a little tough, you got a cane, but we're headed over to the shadiest bar in Valparaiso, Chile, and you should come. And I go, wait a second, is that shady bar where the only way they clean the bathroom is by pouring more sawdust in it? I was like, oh yeah, that's the one. It's okay. All right, well, sign me up. And I'm going in with a cane and walk in. Well, the bouncer there, right, he wore like a bulletproof vest, but it was more for, I'd say, just a show in that case. Go in there, and this place looks nearly abandoned, super cheap beer, and I'm starting to wind down. My friends are still amped. And I said, hey y'all, I'm gonna hit the bathroom, and I'm out. I said, okay, well, you really need to make sure to be safe, because on your way out, we're in a shady part of Valpo, and there's 3 blocks to the bus station from the bar. And those 3 blocks have no lights, and the bus station does, the little bus stop. I was like, all right, and I head over to the bathroom. Mind you, I've had plenty of piscolas, if you're familiar with any Chilean liquors, but I'm totally drunk. And I come out of the bathroom, and there's this odd space and time where there's no one around. And this poster just speaks to me. And it's a big poster. And I do the math, and I go, yeah, that fit down my leg. So I take the poster, and I just rip it off, and it's that thick vinyl. I roll it up, and I figure I could walk out with it because I have a cane. It's a brilliant move. And now I go ahead and I say bye to the guard at the front of the door, and I'm walking with this cane. I make 1 block, it's fine. But the second block, I have a decision to make. On the left-hand side, granted there are no lights in this scenario. On the left-hand side, there are 3 gentlemen without a boat that have a nice barrel fire going on right now, wearing questionable clothing and enjoying such fire. And on the other side is a lady of the night. And I said, well, I have 2 choices. It's kind of a 3-on-1 situation or a 1-on-1 situation, and I just gotta go past this block and make it to the bus station. So I was like, all right, I'm going for the 1-on-1. And as I'm walking, well, this particular lady of the night was a little aggressive. And I was like, hey, no me tocas, like, no me tocas, she's touching me, like, and so I start hustling. Well, this poster slides slides down, and I start walking just super wonky. I just got to start making it. And I go, and as I round the corner to the light, I hear her yell, "Gringo tiene una escopeta," which is, white boy has a shotgun, which is nuts. And I go, that was bananas. And I come around, and in a blink of the eye, this Paco car swoops up. Cop pops out, ropes me up like that, one arm. Then the next cop's shaking me down, finds a poster pretty quickly, and then pulls it out, unravels it, and it says, "Tu hermana por ello le gustó," which is, your sister tried it and she liked it. And the two cops looked at each other, and there's this moment, and I think I read their telepathy, and they go, "Can't believe we believed the hooker." Sorry.
5 minutes on the nose. Thank you, Sky. Sky, head on over to the Slammer booth so that you can sign a waiver for the podcast, please. The irony of a gringo getting arrested and the police. Right? Oh, I'd like to welcome your second featured storyteller of the evening. She's one of my best friends. Please give a warm welcome to Jynx Jenkins.
I'm incredibly nervous. Oh, thank you. That helped. Okay, great. All right, so everyone think back to the fall of pandemic year. Doesn't matter, we all remember, right? Right? Think back to that. It was a chaotic time, a messy time. You all know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to describe it anymore. Okay. Meanwhile, while we were all suffering, trying our best, wearing our masks, doing what we could, meanwhile, my husband and I fell in love with yachting. Okay, my husband and I are not doers. We're what you call indoorsy. In fact, we break into hives if you bring up anything like a ski trip or a farmer's market. Our natural habitat is couch with snacks. But it was during that time, landlocked as we are in Idaho, that my husband and I stepped our first steps onto a yacht. Totally by accident and completely not for real. We were doing our nightly routine, couch, snacks, Bravo TV, self-care. And something happened right at the end of an episode of Real Housewives of New York. The next program started. We didn't pay much attention to it because we were busy refilling chips, obviously. But then we saw this beautiful woman scream across a gorgeous ship, "Get the fuck out of my galley!" And then a whole drunken fight broke out in Croatia. We were watching Below Deck. Thank you. For the uninitiated, Below Deck is a reality TV show that's kind of like if the real world and the Love Boat had a baby. And then that baby got really drunk and flipped a jet ski. There's Below Deck Mediterranean, Below Deck Down Under, and Below Deck Sailing Yacht. Okay. I got all those. It's a whole universe of posh boats and totally insane fucking people. My husband and I were kind of there for the posh boats because we were living on one income in the middle of this messy pandemic, right? The deck we had to worry about at our house was the splintery one outside of our duplex. And we were also in it for the crazy people, though, too. Don't get me wrong. Like, we were in it for Kate. We were in it for Fraser. We were in it for all of the people that you know and love. Okay. We started with Below Deck Mediterranean because we needed an escape and some warmth and a train wreck of people that were more of a train wreck than our house was at the time. You know what I mean? You remember that time. We didn't know if we were 6 months deep or 6 years deep. Our house was a complete mess. The kids were feral. We were eating off paper towels. My daughter had just started kindergarten a few weeks earlier from the screen in her bedroom. But somehow, in all that chaos, we found this chaos on screen and it gave us structure. We started to learn things, like we learned that the chief stew is in charge of the interior of the boat and she always yells at the chef. We learned that the bosun is in charge of the exterior of the boat, right? And he always fucks up the jet skis. We learned that the captain, he's in charge of everything and just walks around drinking coffee and judging people. And we were obsessed. Obsessed. We stopped shouting to each other about finances and chores, and we started shouting boat lingo to our kids. All crew, provisions on the dock, we'd say when groceries arrived. And our kids, you know, they rolled with it. They didn't like it. I'll be honest, they ignored most of it. But we felt like it was our duty to bring them up in this boating world, you know? Like on the show, they always talked about how the real yachties grew up with their sea legs, and so we had to initiate them into the cult. Our kids were not pleased, but this isn't about them. My husband and I, frankly, had been having a hard time. It had been a little rough for a while. So we decided, why not go to sea? We spent every day religiously watching this show. Every day. 6 seasons in, we jumped over to Sailing Yacht. Okay, I wasn't ready for Sailing Yacht. Everything in our lives were a mess. And yes, this mess, through this porthole of our TV, was giving us some kind of guidance, something we were missing. Our lives have been rough for a little while, for a few years, frankly. Not divorce court rough, but disconnected rough, you know? We weren't laughing like we used to. We didn't bond like we always did before. But by watching Below Deck, we gained something we needed for a long time: crew camaraderie. My husband and I, we had a shared mission. We had shared destinations. We had a new language. We had all kinds of lingo and people to talk about. We made new friends every time there was a new season. Exactly what we needed during this time. And then there was Captain Sandy. God bless Captain Sandy. I see you nodding. Captain Sandy, I get teared up. Captain Sandy was a light. She was like a shining star. She was our lighthouse. She had endless optimism, all kinds of team building slogans. She would say things like, "Teamwork makes the dream work," while half of her crew was just passed out drunk in a storage closet. And through Captain Sandy, we started to see that we were changing. We were starting to enjoy life a little bit more, as messy and isolated as it was. 18 seasons. We've been at sea for 18 seasons. We both have our sea legs. My husband's beard has grown to full captain. And I'm fluent in drunken stewardess. We've learned all kinds of things. We've learned how much anchor chain you have to drop and how many shackles to get a good bite in the seafloor. We've learned to estimate the crew's tip by the thickness of the envelope that the guest passes to them. And we've even learned how to convert foreign currency easily. I mean, we were thriving at sea. Look, we may never, ever step on a real yacht, and frankly, I hope we never do. But in the messiest, scariest time of our recent lives, we found a way to connect. We found a way to not just find a new language and find new friends, but to find a little bit of each other.
She didn't mention, and maybe on purpose, but I'm going to out her. That's her husband. Ahoy! We are going to take about a 10-ish minute break right now. Make sure to go refill your drink from Lost Grove. Put your name in the basket for the Slammer booth. We're going to be back in 10-ish or so minutes. You guys have been terrific. The sun's out of your face now. Your sweaters finally make sense again. Join us back here in a few minutes. Thank you. I would like to introduce Thomas Paul on bass, Jeff Brown on drums, Tucker Buttrell on lead guitar and vocals. Please welcome their featured song, what was it? Classy Murder. A classy murder, and what better place to hear about a classy murder than in the women's ward of the penitentiary. Please give it up for East Carter Lake Warriors.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Alisha Donahue, host of Story Night. Currently.
Well, country's a little of a hot mess.
A little bit.
A little bit. Some people say we're on the right track.
Do I have food on my face?
People are smart.
I'm a bit of a hot mess. Actually, this temperature's perfect. I ordered this weather months ago, and now it just shows up out of nowhere.
This is our protest song.
It's another one.
Yeah, it's really inspirational. All right. Classy murder done by rich folk. Classy murder, satin gloves. Classy murder, foreign genocide. Classy murder, not prosecutable. But there's nothing you can do. Classy murder, thing you can do. It's hopeless. And if you don't want to be murdered too, classy murder, maids and butlers. Classy murder, friends at City Hall. Classy murder, kids in cages. Classy murder, above the law. But there's nothing you can do. be murdered too. We gotta do something, y'all. We gotta do something, y'all. But there's nothing you can do. We gotta do something, y'all. But there's nothing you can do. We gotta do something, y'all. We gotta do something, y'all. Come on, we gotta do something, y'all. We gotta do something, y'all. We gotta do something, y'all. But there's nothing you can do. But Bessie murder, nothing you can do. It's hopeless. And if you don't want to be murdered too, we gotta do something, y'all.
He's right.
But there's nothing you can do.
But we gotta do something.
But there's nothing you can do.
There isn't anything really that you can do.
But we have to do something.
But we can't.
One more time, East Carter Lake Warriors. So I'm going to introduce our third featured storyteller in just a minute. I wanted to give you another opportunity just to put your name over here in the basket for a story slam, because when Anna is done, we're going to finish the night with a rapid succession of 5-minute storytellers. So this is your chance. If you wish that you knew how to tell a story like the storytellers you've seen here this evening, you're in luck, because on August 28th, right behind us at the Bishop's House, we are going to have a story salon facilitated by the lovely Miss Patty O'Hara. You can get your tickets on the Story Night website, so we look forward to seeing you on August 28th. Meanwhile, let's bring up your third and final featured storyteller. I am very pleased to welcome Miss Anna Dillon.
Thanks. I was wearing a poison apple red glitter bodysuit on a platform 30 feet above the ground. The Flying Trapeze show was just starting. I had my catcher swinging back and forth across the way as I reached out for my trapeze bar, holding, and then I leaped off the platform. Keeping my hands on the bar, that's important. I quickly and immediately folded my lower body to put my flex feet on the bar between my hands. Then, when the catcher calls hands, I let go with my hands, bringing my body long and upwards, keeping those feet on the bar until, ideally, you reach maximum weightless peak, and then you unflex your feet and go the rest of the way to your catcher. This, however, is not an ideal story. This is a sloppy story. So, because I introduced a poison apple red glitter bodysuit day of the show without time to rehearse in it. So when my catcher called hands, I let go and reached my body long and upwards, only to have that fucking bodysuit betray me. It slipped my feet right off the bar at the moment of peak velocity forward, and I became a human bullet speeding at my catcher. My catcher is swinging towards me. We hit, and I hit so hard I ricocheted as I cracked my skull open on his solid steel trapeze bar. It felt like hitting the corner of a brick wall, and I'm told it sounded like a watermelon getting dropped off a building. Yeah, I got great friends. So everything was reduced to darkness and pain as I fell 25 feet to the net. I was terrified I had broken my neck, and horrified to find myself so utterly helpless because I knew I had a 1-year-old daughter depending on me. I eventually started having some of my vision ebb back in, and I saw my blood spattering on a crew member's gloves. So it was a long night in the emergency department, and we confirmed 3 things. Despite being immobilized with spasms, my neck was not broken. My scalp and face were stitched back together in layers, and they said it was the worst laceration they ever saw, so, you know. And I, lastly, had a traumatic brain injury. So, recovery was the real hot mess. I did not want to be back on this path because this was not my first or my last brain injury. Yeah. The only way forward is through. So I didn't have a choice. And now I have a driving need to give you all a glimpse into the experience. So you ready? Yeah. All right. I had everything taken from me other than the barest wisp of my humanity. I was in a fog, but not just a brain fog, it was a brain bog. I was unable to drive. I was in constant pain. I'm talking 3-month headaches with not an hour spared. And the guilt and shame that would wash over me as I would leave my husband nightly to do the evening routine with our daughter as I crawled into our blacked out bedroom, trying not to puke from the pain of a migraine while it steals my right vision, was a lot. I had such defeating fatigue. My high accomplishing ways were forcibly taken from me, and I had to settle for breastfeeding my daughter and being chauffeured to the 7 therapies I was seeing. I speak bits of 5 languages. Suddenly, life was reduced to a game of charades. I was acting out words until someone could tell me what they were. I told my daughter, asparagus makes your tea smell instead of your pee, because my mind was like a toy crane, just grabbing words at random. I could not multitask suddenly. If my husband was asking a question and music was playing, I could not answer it, I could not follow it. The forgetfulness, that's an understatement. I wandered an entire parking garage looking for the car, stranded like a real-life Seinfeld episode. And the sleep, which is the main thing indicating how each day is going to go, is elusive with a brain injury. My Fitbit showed I averaged waking 35 times a night. Yeah. And I was hemorrhaging money. I couldn't work as a nurse, and I instead paid endless medical bills. So that's fun. And emotionally, I was drowning in depression. I was thankful my daughter was too young to question why mom is constantly getting the top of her head wet. And my brain was foggy, yet overstimulated and wired, but wired wrong. It was a very overstimulating, overwhelming, disorienting, out of control existence. Much like right now. And so then I have learned from life how to survive. I didn't kill myself, I didn't die, and I endured. Because eventually, thank you, eventually things will change. And they did. You wanna know what comes next? Anxiety and overwhelming agitation. My mind was a constantly spinning hamster wheel. I had my very skin crawling. I embarrassed myself at the few outings I had with my inability to filter my frantic verbal vomiting. And I tried not to detonate on my poor spouse, and just simply regulating myself when my daughter was crying felt impossible because my mere existence was too much. So, the way that I cope with life is exercise. Yeah, great. So I went overnight from having a community and being an athlete to being isolated and unable to move my body. It felt like a figurative amputation. It ached. I couldn't go upside down because it increased intracranial pressure and triggered symptoms like vertigo. I couldn't regulate my blood pressure. So simply walking from the air-conditioned house to the warm outdoors, I would nearly faint. The summer heat outdoors, I could last about 5 minutes. So I was pretty much trapped inside. And the hope is like my family motto, dum spero, while I breathe, I hope. Yet my relationship to hope suddenly felt dangerous and tentative. I had no roadmap. No one could give me guarantees on when I would get better or what would be possible. I was basically just having to take things on hope, but it's scary. And so you just feel less of a spouse, less of a mom, less of a nurse, less of a friend. You feel less intelligent, less capable, less impressive, less interesting. And recovery, while I was lucky to be recovering, nothing about it felt good. Then I became part of the Walking Wounded, reintegrating into society. I no longer had a bruised face. My face was, or smile rather, was rather straight thanks to PT. And my bangs had grown in to cover my stitches and deformed skull. So you try to seem normal and people buy it. No longer recognizing the severity of your disability. Everyone just asks, "Oh, are you all good now?" And I love the people that ask that, but I hate that question. Navigating others and your expectations and my ever-fluctuating capabilities was exhausting. You really don't want to, it's at cross purposes to push yourself too much that you set yourself back. So I set minimum accommodations, and when they fell short, I was completely disabled by blinding migraines. It is really sobering how challenging it was for me to come back, considering I have an incredible spouse and a really supportive work environment, which also clapping for the NPs in the back. So, I mean, that's unheard of, a good work environment, yes. But my battered mind and my loving community got me through. So, I lived in a hot mess for a long time. I gaslit myself a lot, just wondering why I couldn't just be better, downplaying my challenges. I had people fawning over my resilience, but it isn't enough to fully erase the darkness of a shattered life. And I resented being force-fed the truth that control is a spun illusion as fragile as our minds. So, the darkness of this journey does deserve acknowledgement. I am more than my intelligence, vocabulary, and competence. I am proud that I befriended my simplest self, stripped of accomplishments and capabilities. And there is true inherent identity and worth in her. I found the stripped down gratitude of just being. However, the benefits are far outweighed by the cost. So, now that I am in recovered status, I am back on the flying trapeze this season, and it's great. And I am still struggling with chronic conditions daily. I did, however, take with me that undue expectations and definitions carry less weight and ability to impact me. And I'm taking that with me, unlike that red jumpsuit.
She did it! Anna Dillon! You guys, she was so nervous. I feel like I need to tell you, she was so nervous, but I could not tell. Let's give her one more big round of applause for conquering a massive fear. I read somewhere once, or probably I saw it on a TikTok, that like public speaking is people's like number one fear, like more than dying, which like your perspective is crazy because this won't kill you, but it is scary. So I'm going to open the stories up to slammers now, and since that is such a fear, I feel like I need to do something that I do with my preschoolers every day. So we're going to take 3 big breaths together. We're going to reach up, we're going to grab a flower, and we're going to get out a candle. We're going to sniff our flower and blow out your candle. Let's do 2 more. One more. Don't you feel good? Don't laugh. You feel good. You're welcome. And then we're going to say, this is something that we say every day in my school. We say, I'm brave, I'm safe, I've got this. Let's do it all together. I'm brave, I'm safe, I've got this. Don't you feel good? Don't you feel ready? Bring me the basket! Where's the basket? Oh, there he is. I dropped my glasses on the ground, and when I bent over, I realized that I flashed all of you. So, hot mess! Woo! Pretend you didn't see it. This is a podcast, not a video. Chelsea Santiago. I saw you earlier. You've got great hair. What a luxurious horse. Did you see this? Look. Chelsea, thank you. You've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
My friends coerced me to do this, so... I have a great story for you guys tonight. It began in COVID times. I did not watch TV series. I decided to be the TV series. A couple of my friends asked me to teach them how to backpack. I'm a seasonal backpacker. I'm actually going on the John Muir Trail and the PCT in 2 weeks. And a couple of them were seasoned and helped me out, and the other ones were full amateurs. I lead a backpacking trip every year that's called If You've Never Pooped in the Woods. Gives you perspective of what we're doing out there. So we gather our folks. I set the trail. It's only about a mile and a half in, because I am not taking Maggie Breeze out into the forest more than a mile and a half, just to let you know. We coerced over some down logs, and we got to this place in early May, and I told them how great this was gonna be. I go to light my jet boil, and it explodes in my face. Does anybody know what to do with a gas fire? Because we didn't. I kicked it into the water thinking it would fix it, and it didn't. You have to bury it, by the way, if anybody ever has that experience. So anyway, I'm trying to tell all my amateurs that everything's okay, totally fine, this is normal. Not normal. And I was like, you know what? We had the pleasure to weight ratio, because of only a mile and a half in, where we got to bring maybe a couple beers and some pool floaties from Winco. And so we start blowing up the pool floaties, and with that pool floaty, we launch into the Alpine Lake. It was early May, so we actually didn't get to go very far into the Sawtooth Mountain range, so just an FYI, if it doesn't get cold enough for you to scream like a howler monkey in the water, there's probably leeches in the water. So this is where the hot mess actually starts, by the way. So we're floating out into this lake, and we're having some fun, and one of my friends goes, ooh, I think my bacon's burning, I'm gonna flip over, because we were getting a little bit too much sun. And in that, she flips over, and I see her booty, and I'm like, girl, there's something on your booty. You know, you might want to grab it. And she goes to try and grab it, and it starts to move, right? And all of a sudden I go, okay, nobody panic. But that wasn't a leaf. It was a leech. So let's just get out of this water really quick, you know? And the white girl panic sets in. And we all start rushing off. And my trusty chacos were not as trusty, and I hit a log and slipped and nailed my knee. And I impaled it, actually. So I looked down, and I didn't have to ask the question of, do you think I need stitches? Instead, I go, not good, not good, not good, not good, not good, not good, not good. And my favorite part of this whole story is we were butt-ass naked and wearing nothing but our personalities. So in that, I start to panic. Everybody comes over. They also dare not ask the question of, do we need stitches? One of my best friend's mom is a nurse, and she had given us an entire tube of liquid stitch. They try to kind of like rinse it out. They use the whole tube of liquid stitch, by the way. You don't need a whole tube of liquid stitch, just an FYI. And this whole surgery went on naked, which was so much fun. Highly recommend, 5 stars. Best healthcare I've ever gotten. And in that, one of my friends is cuddling me in her bosom and just telling me not to look at it. And I'm telling you, she has great tits. And I was so, like, not paying attention. I should have been. It was so great. But one of my favorite moments was when one of them in the back was just sitting there, like, rubbing my shoulders, telling me everything's gonna be okay. And all of a sudden I realized she was telling herself that because she had just had mushrooms and a brownie. She couldn't actually pack her backpack later on. We had to pack it for her, and we let her out with, like, a leash. It was pretty bad. And in that, I decided it was okay to hike out. It didn't work. The girls had come together in a moment and decided that I could not walk, and so they had come up with a plan, and that plan was I was gonna get back into that pool floaty that was a sprinkle donut from Winco. And my best friend had already like duct taped chacos to her hands for paddles, and she was on the Stingray, and I was gonna hold onto the Stingray's tail while she paddled us back across the lake to our car, and I was like, hell no. 2 steps in, and I was like, hell yes. So she did paddle me across. Our floaties got shrunk even more as the leashes were attaching to the pool floaties and also poking holes in those, which was interesting. I didn't know that was a thing, but it was. And my trusty best friends that are sitting here with us today actually hiked all of my shit out, which I had the highest pleasure to weight ratio because I was leading the pack. There was a lot of booze in that bag. So one of them has a pack on the front, one has it in the back. And we're hiking out, and we get out, and I realize I have 6 hours until infection hits. So we're stopping by Papa Bruni's for a Peppadoo pizza on the way out, and only one of us has Verizon, so she's the one calling her husband to call in the pizza so that we can make it in time to go over the Galena summit. It's not done yet, by the way. It keeps getting better. We don't get the pizza. We actually lost it by 13 minutes. We missed that pizza. So we went up and over the Galena summit and instead ate noodles in a parking lot somewhere. I walked myself into the hospital because it was, oh no. Anyway, okay, quick. I walked myself in. It was COVID. Nobody else was allowed in there except for my spouse, so my best friend pretended to be my wife. Anyway, that was my hot mess, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
That was incredible. And I thought of like 3 other stories I could tell you while you were talking, because I was like, oh, it reminded me of the time, but I'm not going to. You know why. Maybe another time. We'll revisit this theme. Who's ready for another slammer? Don't forget to go over and sign your release form, by the way. I forgot to tell you to do that. He reminded me. I'm a mess. Chris. It just says Chris. Who's just Chris?
sophomore year of college. I had just discovered this incredible thing called sex. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. I had it one time. It was great. I was ready to do it again. And luckily, my sister had just graduated college, and my dad was like, for your graduation gift, you get to go to wherever you want. She picked Playa del Carmen, Mexico. So we went to Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and I'm like, fuck yes. I bet I will be able to have sex there. So we're down there, and of course it's like my dad, my sister, and me, and it's like a whole family deal. It's like everyone there is either engaged or like our families and have kids, and I'm over here just horny as hell, just like, when are the hot people gonna get here? I was having a great time, but I just found out about this thing, sex, and I wanted to do it again. So I was patient. I kept having fun and playing volleyball, and there's also this other thing that I had found out about not too long earlier than that. It's called alcohol. It was also pretty fun, and so I partook in that. And sometimes alcohol leads to sex. It doesn't have to, but those two sometimes do go hand in hand. So, anyways, 5 days in, no one, nothing. I'm the only single person there. And on our last night, I find this group of people who I had befriended. It was like a group of guys and gals, and we were all hanging out, having a great time. And we were in the bar drinking, and in walks in this gorgeous woman and her friend. They're both gorgeous. I didn't know. I was like, whoa. Anyways, I later found out she was from Mexico City, and I had just taken a semester of college Spanish. So, luckily, a little bit of Spanish and a lot of alcohol can make someone think that they might be mildly fluent. I don't know what the hell I said to her, but she liked it, and she thought I was funny. And I was like, ¿Tú quieres a bailar conmigo hoy noche? Do you want to dance with me later tonight at the bar? She's like, yeah, maybe, we'll see. I was like, yes. So she and her friend leave. I proceed to drink a little bit more. And she comes in later. We're all dancing. We had just had this routine, dancing every night. She walks in, walks straight up to me. I was very impressed and very happy that this happened. She comes up to me, she grabs my shirt, and she says, do you want to take a shot of tequila with me? 5 shots of tequila later, we're dancing, and we're dancing very promiscuously. We're making out while we're dancing. My sister, who had graduated college, was drunkenly cell phone videoing us, thinking it would be blackmail, but it wasn't. It's probably one of the better videos I have of my life. So anyways, we finish up dancing, and we finish up by her saying, do you want to get out of here? I say, absolutely. Give me 1 minute. Because I knew where this was going, and I thought I should be safe and practice safe sex and have a condom. But like I said, I had just learned about sex and done it, and I didn't have condoms. But some of the friends around the bar, or just anyone, might have had one. So I went around, I was like, do you have a condom? 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 Every single person said no. Fucking liars. They all had condoms. They just also had the same plans that I did, so it's whatever. But in my rush and in my drunk-addled brain, I remembered this conversation that I had with my dad when I was 16 or 17. He was like, son, when you have sex, you have to have safe sex. If you ever feel like you need to ask me anything. It was a really lovely moment. If you ever need anything from me, just let me know. Come talk to me. And so I go back to this girl. I'm like, just 5 minutes. Let's meet at the beach, and then we'll yes. And so I was like, I'm probably never gonna see her again. But I take off sprinting down this resort. I turn a corner. I'm going full speed. There's a guy at the far end who had just finished mopping the entire corridor. I slip back,
and I'm running at full speed. I slip, I fall, I slide 15, 20 feet. I'm getting back up immediately. The guy's like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm trying to have sex. I get to my room. I look through my suitcase. I'm like, yeah, nothing was there. I look through my sister's suitcase. Nothing was there. And then I go up to my dad. My sleeping, lovely dad. Deep sleep, 2 a.m. I shake him. Hey, Dad. He's like, what time is it, Chris? What's up? I was like, Dad, do you have a condom? And he goes, what? I say, never mind. And run straight to the beach. And it was a lovely night. There was a cabana involved. I found out that it's not just a one-time deal. Sex can be a good thing multiple times. And I'll just wrap it up with this. The entire time we were there, we were on this cabana that like previously I had laid on like during the day and was, drinking and watching, just the ocean. But during the nighttime, there are security guards with big lights who scan the entire beach for people doing exactly what we were doing. We avoided them until we both fell asleep butt naked. And we woke up in the morning to, sir, you cannot be here. You cannot be here. So we both nakedly walked back to the hotel, put our clothes on, and that was that. It was a lovely time.
Chris, everybody. I wanted to ask him how long ago this was, but I was worried that he would be like, last month. And I didn't want to embarrass you further, so. Thank you. 7 or 8 years ago, he says, thank you, Chris. All right, we got time for 1 or 2 more slammers, I think. How are we feeling? Angela Hammond. Angela?
I think we only get like a handful of perfect nights in life. You can probably visualize yours right now. And a few years ago, I had one. My husband, he's sitting right over there in that chair. You'll want to remember that. It's right there. We were on our first road trip together. We'd been dating for 6 months. And we were in this beautiful little cabin in Montana, an A-frame. And I had convinced him that we needed to watch the masterpiece, which is Shakespeare in Love, that he had never seen, which was obviously something that we needed to rectify. And we had bought this beautiful bottle of red wine. And it was a night like this, like in the middle of the summer, but somehow gorgeous. Beautiful sunset that we watched on the porch, drinking the wine. And then we watched Shakespeare in Love on my iPad because there's like no internet. We're in the middle of nowhere in Montana. And he loved it. And he was like, oh my gosh, it is a masterpiece. And I was like, I know. And it was so beautiful, this like perfect night. And we'd never been away together. We'd only been dating for 6 months. And the A-frame had a spiral staircase, and there was a loft bed upstairs. There was also a tiny twin bed, but we opted for the loft. So we climb up this like little spiral staircase, and it was the first night that we slept together. Like we had slept together. We had not slept together. Thank you. And so, we're just kind of, figuring that out. Getting to know each other still, 6 months in. And here's this beautiful human who I've just spent this perfect night with, this beautiful, perfect night. And we were kind of restless. It was hot in the cabin. They didn't have air conditioning, middle of the woods. We're in the loft. And I figured he was restless because of that. That is not the case. And he starts wriggling. And I'm like, maybe this is his deal. Like, we've never slept together. Maybe this is how it is for him. No. He starts sweating. And he said, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna be sick. And I was like, oh God, like, oh no. And he has to get down the spiral staircase to the bathroom, but he's been trying to hold it in because it's our first night sleeping together, and we're staying in this perfect night in this cabin, so he's been trying to like muscle it out and wriggle through, and he did not. Remember, he's just sitting right there. So truly a miracle. Like, thanks be to God, he made it down the spiral staircase to the bathroom. I would also remind you, we had consumed an entire bottle of red wine. He had valiantly tried so hard to not be sick that it was quite urgent. And when he got to the bathroom, he couldn't open the toilet. And he got red wine sick on top of it. On the floor, on the sink, on the curtains and the walls. It was rough. Now I am upstairs. We're 6 months in. We have not slept together. I'm still in the bed, in the A-frame, listening to him being violently ill. And I was like, ooh, like, do I go down there? Should I help in some way? What could I offer? Like, we're in an Airbnb. I don't have anything. Like, I don't have anything to give you except for my presence, which you already know I can hear you being violently sick. And so I didn't, and I just kind of waited until he stopped actively vomiting. And it was a while, God bless him. It was a rough night. And so eventually, it's kind of quiet, and I go down the stairs, and I witness the destruction that is the bathroom. And he's been trying to clean it up, but it was an Airbnb that was like very lightly stocked. Like, they didn't have towels or rags or anything. Like, all they had were like the actual bath towels. And so we spent our morning after the perfect night cleaning it up, the red wine off the floor and the seat of the toilet. And now we're married.
Angela Hammond. When they got married, that is a love story for the ages. This Christmas on the Hallmark Channel. All right, let's see, what time is it? It's 9:46. We have just time for one more slammer. Our last slammer, and then we're going to wrap it up for the night. All right, I'm going to go get the basket. Don't leave. Hold on. This is it. The last slammer. The last slam. Gregory. Just Gregory. It's so convenient. They're all sitting right in front.
This is my first time here, so wish me luck. Hard to compete, not compete, but to stand up after all of those wonderful stories. So thank you. So, this story takes place starting out on what was the 3rd of July in like 2016. I get off work from my college job down at a shop here in Boise, and I head up to Donahue. And I'm up there, and we've got the next day off, and we're supposed to go out boating. And I'm super excited. I'm there with coworkers and friends, and my boss who's got a cool bar, and we're pouring tequila, and I've got a coworker who's really excited about this watermelon with a bottle of booze in the top. And, I'm like, okay, wow, yeah, 4th of July with kind of this new group of friends. And here we go, Boise, Donahue, let's do it. And so we drink into the early hours of the morning, and all's going well. We're having a good time, and we all kind of mosey off to our tipsy slumbers. And I maybe make it an hour or two before waking up in this very startled, alarmed state with kind of a very uncomfortable scratch coming from my backside. And I don't know exactly how to handle it. So, I kind of muscle through for a little while, similar to the last story, and kind of try to roll over to the other side and do a little shimmy. And eventually I get up and I go to the restroom, and I'm trying to kind of evaluate the situation, and I'm very uncomfortable. And I'm starting to think about, what's up with that tequila at the bar? Or, I know those Maverick breakfast burritos back in town are always kind of questionable. And all of a sudden it dawns on me, and I'm taken back to a few days prior, where I had been out on a fun hot springing adventure with a friend who had to go to work, and I took them back to that Chevron over there right before you go over the hill to Horseshoe Bend, drop them off, and I go, I got some more time on my hands, I'm gonna go fishing. I go back to Horseshoe Bend, I'm looking around for a spot, and these gracious landowners say, yeah, you can go on down to, it's private property, but you're welcome to go down and fish for a little bit. I'm stoked, I'm having a great time. I go down there, and I'm kind of overwhelmed by the call to nature at this point. I've been out adventuring all day long, and I'm massively ill-prepared. I have a shovel, so, with the best leave no trace intentions, I go and I muster together some leaves. I make a nice little pile, I stack them on my thigh, I take care of my business, I bury everything in the best way possible, and then I wind up in Donahue. And all of a sudden there at about 4:30 in the morning, I'm opening up my phone and I Google plants similar to poison oak. And in front of me pops up 3 columns: poison oak, poison ivy, poison sumac. What on earth is poison sumac is what comes over me. And next thing I know, I've got 7 internet tabs open, and I'm going, what's this look like? What's it look like in the spring? I'm trying to look at every leaf, but it was abundantly obvious upon the first up-close picture that I saw that what I had encountered was definitely poison sumac. So I make my way over to my coworker's duffel bag, and I pull out his, package of American Spirits roll your own cigarettes, and I mosey my way out to the front porch, and I start hand rolling roll your own cigarettes while I watch the sun rise out there on Tamarack. And I stay there until dawn, and well after dawn, and I'm waiting for someone to please get up so we can go to the dang lake and I can get in the water. And everyone kind of finally gets to their feet, and my boss comes out and he's sipping his cup of coffee on the porch where I'm bloodshot eyes, just sitting there. I've been up all night long, so miserable. How'd you sleep? Okay. And he goes, the wind's gonna be up today and the lake's probably gonna be mad scene. It's the 4th of July. What do you guys say we go for a hike? And this is the perfect time to say, that sounds great. I love to hike, but I wiped my butt with poison sumac and some sort of twisted addendum to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And I've currently got a 5-alarm fire happening in my shorts. Instead of saying that, I go, yeah, a hike sounds great. And we venture out up Jug Mountain, where I proceed to get in every single body of water the entire way up, including a lot of leech-riddled, ponds of sorts. They're not luxurious lakes. My boss is kind of looking at me like, God, guy really likes to swim, I guess. Really questionable behavior. And we make our way down, and I have another miserable evening where I'm alternating water bottles, admittedly, between the back of the freezer on top of a DiGiorno pizza and my backside, one after another about every hour until they defrost, and I have to swap them out, admittedly. So, I'm sorry to that freezer space, and especially that DiGiorno pizza. I make my way back to town, and at the time I was kind of covered by Boise State's medical insurance, and I had to go in and get this address. And I'm sitting there with someone who's so lovely, and she says, do you mind if this grad student comes in to evaluate? And in walks this person that couldn't have been more than maybe a year or two older than me, and they're beautiful, and they say, all right, by the way, we have to see it. And I said, you should really just take my word for it.
Thanks for listening. Story Night is the City of Boise Cultural Ambassador and is funded in part by the Idaho Commission on the Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Thank you to our media sponsor, Radio Boise. Our theme song was composed by Ned Evett. Podcast production is by Stephen Baldessari. Please rate and review this podcast to help other story lovers find us. Thanks to guest host Alisha Donahue and guest musicians the East Carter Lane Warriors for really making a mess of it. Find out how to participate in our live show and even how to be a storyteller at STORiES or visit us on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Jody Eichelberger. Thanks for being a part of our story.